Hello and welcome back. This is the same session of the budget meeting of November 25th, 2021. So Phil, we were just getting into a couple of projects in the facilities that we had left here, so go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. So this replacement project is the cement pad under the Facilities Department for the Event Center / Museum for a cost of $18,000. And the proposal is to pour a cement pad at the south entrance of the Event Center that was created this summer, creating a more usable space for barbecue area and hosting events that will attract more people to rent and utilize the Event Center. This will also help with some of the landscaping and drainage issues that are present on the south side of the building. So everyone that was familiar with how they come into the south side of the Event Center, there's an exit door that comes right into the Event Center, and it is to pour a cement pad outside of there that they can put barbecues on it and host outdoor events as well as indoor events.
And it's going to help with some of the drainage issues. That slab that's there now is draining back towards the building.
Yeah, and the large part of it is grass that is sloped back.
Any comments on this? Okay, seeing none, let's move forward.
All right, the last item under facilities is a LED lighting upgrade under the Facilities Department for the Emergency Services Building for a cost of $5,000. And this is to replace the upstairs lights in the conference area, a training area. And so very basically similar to these. This is one of the last, ESB is one of the last buildings that has the old tube style fluorescent lights. So moving to the LED lights similar to this. And there'll be an operation savings over time.
Is there any program available that we qualify here?
No, not anymore for LED lighting. That ended in 2016.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, this is the Parks and Recreation summary page. Overall, there was a 4% reduction from Parks and Rec overall, and this includes boulevards, parks, playgrounds, recreation, aquatic, arena, all of the multiplex, all of that fits into Parks and Recreation. User fees, there's an increase, and we have proposed a 5% increase to user fees over all our charges, and that is to bring us in line with the 2020 financial indicators graph that was presented to Council at the first budget by Director Casey. Plus there's an increase with the new junior hockey program than previous years because we're utilizing a lot of dead ice time, so that's afternoon ice that was never utilized, and a higher rate than previous junior hockey. Plus we're getting a full year of use due to COVID. Last year we only had a partial year, so that's the reason for such a substantial increase. In the government transfers, you can see there's a substantial decrease, and that is the reduction in the municipal stimulus program for the walking trails and the playgrounds that we had in 2021. So the $395,000 is the recreation grant from the county. The contracted services, there's a substantial decrease there, and that was the contracted services for the playground and the walking trails. There's a transfer increase in transfers and capital from operations, and those transfers from reserves, there's a couple of replacement projects. So does anybody have any questions on the overall summary?
What were your projected increase in income from the 5% user fees? What were you anticipating to be the overall increase on user fees at 5%?
I wanna say it was in the 15,000 range.
Okay,
Does that include the increase on the per hour rate for ice, or is that separate?
No, that's included, yeah.
Okay.
so 5% ice rental, 5% when you walk into the pool, figure skating, everything is taking a 5% increase.
Yes. And the last increase we had was in 2018, I believe.
And we're looking at $15,000. And we have a surplus right now from last year's budget.
Yes.
How do you guys feel about a 5% increase on all users' fees at the facilities? Go ahead.
I'll just speak to the arena on this one. We are so low. That's why I think it's fair. I understand that we don't want to be taking in more, but I don't want to see us be at a spot where all of a sudden when it's time, we have to do a humongous one. So I don't know if you want to do it blanketly, but I think per hour, we're still averaging, I think, almost $20 less an hour than a lot of places, even with the increase. So I'll just throw that one.
For an example, a full facility family pass 1 year, the increase was $20 over the course of a year. So a single admittance, we went from $525 to $550. So all those 1 month, 3 month, 6 months, and in each child, senior, student, and family, adults, they were all just increased minutely to basically round the numbers off from a couple of dollars.
I do believe it won't keep up with the inflation cost, so, no matter what, so I'm just asking if everybody's okay with it, so. Okay, good.
So the replacement projects, the first one is the Bullards project at Pasanka Park. This was a project that was approved last year. We are carrying that money forward. Originally, we were going to look at purchasing the Bullards. So, sorry, for the new counselors, around most of our, all of our parks, we have wooden posts that have been in place for many, many, many years. A lot of them are rotting and creating a hazard and not very aesthetically pleasing. So we're going to start replacing them with concrete Bullards. The ones we have chosen are a 30-inch concrete circle. We were looking at buying these from a supplier, and this summer the shipping cost and the cost of each Bullard was absolutely insane. So after some conversations with Trent Samuel at Twin Lakes, he has purchased the mold himself. He's actually purchased a couple of molds, and so you've seen those Lego blocks. So he purchased a mold for himself. He will be making these Bullards for us, and then we will purchase them from them at a substantial decrease in the cost of getting them made by a company in the city. And it also saves the thousands of dollars in shipping costs, because as he makes them in his dead time over the winter, and then we'll purchase them in the spring and put them in place. A part of what we're working with the Parks Department too is a plan to eliminate the weed trimming by 2025 around the town. So when these things are put in place, we'll be making a 6-foot swath. We'll be putting the Bullards in place, and then we'll be filling it in with mulch. That way they won't have to be weed whacked around anymore like the current posts. They'll just be able to take their lawnmowers and cut along the sides. So our long-term plan, as we replace by 2025, replacing all these Bullards at all our parks and playgrounds, will be to eliminate the weed eating at all our parks, saving us thousands of dollars in man hours. So this is a carry forward from 2021. Partial. Well, we're carrying forward the 25,000. Last year we had budgeted 50,000 for the Bullards, and that was to we were going to buy them all from the city, but because we've made we've worked with a local company, so we can spread this over a 2 to 3 year period now, which was always the intent, to do it over a 3-year period, but purchasing them locally, we're only spending $25,000 this year, and then we'll have $25,000 next year, and then the year after, and that should complete all our parks and playgrounds of all of the wooden posts.
So, and the installation of this and the mulch and everything, it will be in-house?
Yep, parks will be looking after that.
Go ahead.
This is just an aesthetics question, but did they end up being round or did they end up being egg-shaped? We just, remember they were trying, so did they find one?
No,
Okay.
he actually could not find anybody that could make an egg-shaped, and this stemmed from, I think Council Rudick was the one that had seen this in Russia, that somebody had this, but he, what's that?
In Ukraine.
In Ukraine. He could not find anybody that could make an egg-shaped mold, so. So we went with a round one, and it's got a flat bottom, so they'll basically sit, and then we'll put the black mulch around it, just as we've done some aesthetics in the park, and that'll eliminate a lot of weed whacking, weed eating, trimming.
Councillor Barry.
Yes, thank you. Just one question, see if I heard it right. You said last year we put away 50,000?
Yes,
So your intent right now is to take 25,000 out of reserve this year? And then 25,000 out of reserve the following year?
yes. And if you look on the back of this page, for the new councillors, you'll see what the bullards look like. You have that picture?
We do,
No one's moving them.
yeah. Well, they probably will with the Honda, they might try to give them a bump. Okay, so everybody's good with that, right? The 2-year plan, the money's already committed from a previous budget, so.
Okay, the next item is a ball diamonds upgrade through facilities for $13,000. And this is replacing the fence on diamond number 2 and the dugout on diamond number 1. This is funded from the carry forward reserve from 2021. So there'll be no impact directly to 2022's budget. And it's continuing on replacing the fencing and the diamonds at the Riverview ball diamonds.
Which one is the Blue Jays playing on?
3.
3. Are we gonna do anything over there?
They did some work this year from the funding that we had in place, so I believe they did some work on the dugouts prior to the season starting, and the fencing was replaced in 2020.
Yeah, the fence and dugouts are fine. The mound needs some work, and it's probably not that big of a deal, but like, the mound, it keeps coming out. And then when they're throwing off it needs a little more stable base to it, so just bring it up now so you can let Danny know or whoever that, I mean, we're not gonna wait till halfway through their home opener for the mound to come apart again, so. Okay, so hopefully the Slow Pitch Association will be back up and running this year.
Yes, and that'll be some additional revenue for this year as well too, so.
Okay, everybody good with that?
And minor ball.
The minor ball too, yeah, for sure.
The last item is a part-time clerical position. This is for recreation facilities and parks. Budget estimate of $25,000. This is to create a part-time clerical position to help support parks, rec, and facilities. This position can also be a liaison to the Heritage Event Center and Museum when we look at museum opening plan. A little bit of background: in 2020, the full-time clerical position was eliminated during the height of the COVID-19 restrictions. Currently, 2 part-time employees are balancing the head cashier and clerical work needed, but we're still acquiring some overtime. The new part-time position will alleviate the need for overtime and create more effective clerical support for management of parks, rec, and facilities. So this position will not be a cashier position. It'll be strictly administrative support. That's why it's a part-time basis. Some projects are falling falling through the cracks and, not as well as I'd like to see them. And having this extra position on a part-time basis, would help, alleviate, that and also take it off the head cashier position, which is trying to manage that as well as the accounts payables and receivables and, the head cashier position that, we have there, so.
So, Phil, with that position, if we're adding in the part-time, I know we're kind of saying adding, but is it basically putting us sort of back where we were before we limited the full-time? So now we're actually still down a half position?
Yes.
From what, so it's not really an addition of another half, it's returning it to half down from where we were, is that
And
right?
and it's a part-time position, so,
Right.
This is something I'll be monitoring throughout the year, of how many, of how it's working. And like I say, we really don't know what the plan is for the museum at this point, and, how busy the event center is gonna be, what pressure that's gonna put on the front recreation staff as well, so. So yeah, we're just bringing back a 0.5 position instead of the full-time, and again, if we don't see a need for this down the road, it can always, it can be eliminated as opposed to.
And would this position be able to cover, because it's my understanding that one of the positions that we have sometimes has other work. Would they be able to cover any of the current positions that are there, admin? So cashier or is it just to one?
No, we want this position to be strictly clerical, the administrative support for the 3 departments. The other departments the other full-time position we have is a head cashier / clerical, and they're Monday to Friday. During the day, they are the cashier at the front that is, basically monitoring everybody coming in and out, and then doing accounts payable and accounts receivables. That pretty much fills up most of their time. And then you've got all the additional, administrative support which is what the previous position, would have done.
Okay, so part-time, you mean
20
summer?
20 hours, well, 20 hours a week maximum over the course of 52 weeks. So, it'll be up to the manager to determine, so at budget time right now, this is a critical time where he could use administrative support, preparing for budget. So that might be, at this time, and then in lull times, that person won't be working, so.
Okay, anybody got any thoughts? Okay. You'll keep us updated on how that's working out, and if it does not work out and you wanna eliminate that position, you'll let us know.
Yep.
That would be amazing.
What's that, sorry?
That would be amazing.
Anytime they come with an elimination, it's always good.
And the last page is library operations. There's a 4% increase overall, and from 193 to 200,000. This was presented by, the library board, and they have transferred money from reserves to top up to the 200,000 mark that they requested.
I think we've already had this conversation.
Yeah, there's
about the
not
library.
a,
We're good.
yeah.
Everybody's good on this.
And that is all I have, your worship.
Well, let's go over the last page. Capital projects.
Oh, good.
Everybody got it? This page here. Should be one of the last pages in there.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, so we're going ahead with the highway signages, which is already collected, the money was collected in last year's tax, or actually the year before.
It's coming out of the general operating
Oh,
reserves.
sorry.
Those funds are in reserve. We have not collected. It has not been part of the budget for tax, for tax levy. The money's in reserve.
Okay. The humidifier, how are we paying for that?
That is a carry forward from 2021.
So it was budgeted, collected, okay?
Yep. and it's eligible for a grant return, and Councillor Rudick actually just sent me a FCM grant application that this and the aquatic center furnaces will probably fit into that grant, so.
Okay. Counselor Lemko, the fire equipment there, did you have a comment you'd like to make on that?
Yes, your worship. I would like to see us either purchase the set for 30,000 or wait until, not buy just one, because they're a marriage. One works with the other. So I would like to see us step up and provide that for many reasons, safety and quick access to vehicles where it's required. So I really think it's important for us to provide both sets, the jaws and the spreaders.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel that's very important too. I do believe that should come as a set, and I think it just makes it easier for whoever's got to respond to use both those new tools without having any hydraulics attached to them. The battery makes it quicker. And it really doesn't matter if you live in the community or out of the community. You're saving somebody, you're saving somebody.
Okay, Counselor Barry?
Thank you. Yes, I was looking at this again as well, and I would like to see both purchased this year. I think it's a safety aspect and to our firefighters. And I'd also like to point out that I believe that these items would probably be used more often on the highway than within town. So in the future, is there some way that some of that money that is collected back from the province for going to accidents can't be put into reserve to keep replacing the equipment that is used in those cases? So that we would have the monies, part of that money, instead of going to general revenue, should really be going into the reserves.
I do
believe they should both be bought this year.
Through to you, Counselor Barry, I do believe we have an equipment reserve already started at the, so, but doesn't have a ceiling or it doesn't have a bottom line. We put it in, there's no commitment to a yearly thing in that. So again, what you're proposing, maybe we could talk about after the budget, about having a certain amount allocated from each job, each time that there's equipment that goes to work. Okay, Counselor Curtis.
We talked about this at the last meeting, about that reserve budget. Is that for equipment, or is that for training, or is it a mix of both? And then how much is in there currently? This is kind of the question I have.
Go ahead. You don't need your mask to set up there. Turn your mic on, though.
Okay, so that is on the reserve spreadsheet that I gave you. It looks like this. So if you look the third last line under capital reserves, there is a fire department one. And you can see committed for future use. It's one of the last columns on the right. It's at 15,000 right now. And that would bring our reserve closing balance to 35,000. So if it was $30,000, there's still sufficient reserve in there to fund the full 30 this year.
So we're saying, like, my thought is we could fund the other 15, or the fire department could from their reserve, no problem.
Yeah, both the 30 and the 15 would be fully funded this year.
So my question would be to Director Casey. We're at right now with what we've approved so far, and there still will be a surplus at a 0% increase in taxes. Would this $15,000 still fit within that?
Yes,
Surplus?
yes.
Okay.
Well, yes, it would, because the money would be coming out of reserve, so the surplus that we're budgeting to go into the reserve at the end of the year would stay the same.
Okay, so do we have a unanimous that we want to go ahead and purchase the other piece of equipment? Okay, well, I guess I was the deciding vote on that last time, and until I knew where the budget was gonna go, but I think we can stretch it a bit and go to that piece. Okay, so everything else that's on this list below, Director Rowe has already presented to us today. So if you could, Director Rowe, take a look at combining those two projects at the Aquatic Center
Yes.
and get a design build cost, and we'll move on from there on those projects.
Okay.
Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. You're done. Painless.
Wasn't that bad, right?
Dale, are you ready?
I am ready, Your Worship. Just turn on my mic. Everybody will take the IP&D tab and flip it to your left. And we should all be on infrastructure planning development, and it should say revenue. And if you have that page in front of you, then we're gonna be golden all the way through. This is infrastructure planning development. It's an overview of all of the departments. So the next following pages will break this down into detail and give you some information. I've got some points highlighted here that may be of interest. The user fees and sales of goods and services running its revenue as an increase of 3%, and that simply reflects the water rate increase that we'll be seeing in the 2022 budget as we see every year when we receive it from the John S. Batyuk Water Commission, then we match that percentage and send it up. If you move down, there's no real big differences until you maybe get to contracted services. We are less and down 98,000 from the 2021 budget, and that is because we're not crushing concrete at the landfill this year. It'd be one of the factors that would play at about that dollar amount. Materials and goods, supplies and utilities is up about 4%, but that's projects that we're gonna see in the next few pages that are happening at the cemetery, the water pump stations and things like that, so we'll have detail on that. Everything else is pretty much the same, and if we're getting down into net interfund transfers, where we talk about transfers from reserves or transfer to reserves, that would be listed on your sheet that Megan had given you. It would help explain that on your reserves. So we'll just be repeating it. So if everybody's okay, we can flip the page and I'll go into a little more explanation. This is just Public Works. So Public Works is going to cover you the airport, the landfill, the different departments, the cemetery, the departments that Public Works itself is responsible for, and we'll also hit onto municipal services and then the utilities department. So there's 3 more pages coming. So this will just be reflecting those departments. User fees and sales of goods and services is very close to the same. The revenue mostly there is $150,000, the infrastructure fee that's on the utility bills that we collect, and then we've got some transfer to operating reserve. Both years it'll get you up to that 388. Other income, just a quick explanation, that's airport leasing. We talked about, Paul mentioned the perpetual care at the cemetery. Those types of items are in there, and we had one cemetery donation of a couple $1,000 that went into there as well. The contracted services, again, is the no crushing of concrete. And the other, just to give you a rough idea of what the 499,000 is, that's all the asphalts that we have done for us. That's the undergrounds, manhole repairs, catch basin repairs, our seal coats, our sand slurries, is just, that's all, if you want to, what are they contracting out? Those are all considered contracted or services purchased, if you will. So it's all of that, including insurances and one big lump sum.
What is the interest on the long-term debt?
That's the interest on our debenture debt that was taken out for roadworks in the past. So I'm not sure when that actually matures, but the next debenture doesn't mature until 2029, so I'm not sure if it's related to that or not. I just know
It can't be that 50th Street. I thought we paid that off in 2 years. Go ahead, Cliff.
The debenture would be for 49 Street, down by
50/50.
Councilor Rudick's area. And then the second one was 49A, sorry. And 49th Street was Co-op going north for the 3 blocks in there. And that was 2009. So it's a 20-year debenture.
Okay. Keep going, Dale, sorry. I just maybe forgot about that debenture for some reason. I don't know why.
That's all I
Because it
have
wasn't in
for,
front of my house, maybe, that's why.
maybe so.
It's 49.
Oh, sorry. It's not
49A.
anywhere near your house.
That was close.
Hey, we can have fun here.
Unless there's any questions, I have no more on this page for explanation, unless somebody has something. Move to municipal services, and that would be.
You know what, Dale, I do have some.
Yeah, sure.
Do you feel with the cost and this shortage in the supply chain right now, that you factored in enough for gravel and all the other purchases to do with public works?
I believe that I have. And I have not increased a lot. I know that we have a salt sand supply that we're guaranteed for this year and probably 3/4 of next year. So we're sitting fine as far as inventory. And I have inventory at the landfill with the aggregate as well. So yes, some of the items have gone up, and then we have to bring some down. So we've been playing that game. Same as we talked about the concrete, increasing it, but then we're lowering other things because our goal was to get the absolute needs with a zero increase in our budgets. So we're playing that game now.
Any other questions on this public works page? Okay, thank you.
Municipal services, this is your fleet services, this is recycling, this is landfill operations, this is garbage collection. So it encompasses those items. The revenue, we're projecting it down 3%, and that is simply we're not quite hitting the marks basically through our commercial hauler. The commercial haulers that we have are down just a little bit from before. I think there's some contracts that they're looking to pick up again, so that would explain that. The revenue, that $862,000, is comprised of the monthly garbage fee at $190,000 a year. Just extra garbage pickups that we do for commercially, they generate over $50,000 a year. The tipping fees at landfill right now are sitting at $320,000, just the tipping fees. Then we also have the $76,000 from the county's operational grant. That's annual. Included in here as well is $180,000 for the recycling monthly fee, you see in your utilities. And then this year, we have seen a big jump in recycling revenues for the product. There was a large demand for the last 5-6 months, and we know that, and we've been told it's going to crumple here probably by the end of November, beginning of December. So instead of generating about 22 to 24,000, we're gonna probably hit around the 65,000 mark. It was just a spike, as there was a bit of a shortage of product, believe it or not. So, but now we're back again. So that's what would comprise that amount. And just for our new council, I guess the other income at 32,000 includes things like the batteries, toners, and revenue like that. But and confidential paper shred, light bulbs, ink cartridges, and the biggest one is a diversion credit. So it's money in, money out. The landfill operations pays the recycling department $20 a ton for every ton of waste they divert from the landfill. And it's just an in and out, but then it gives you tracking a number to go on as to what our performance is. And as we move down again, there's not a lot of really big changes until we get down to the very bottom where it says transfer to reserves. And as you know, we were putting $75,700 away into a fund to replace the crawler loader in 5 years. With the addition of our new compactor, the crawler loader is being utilized less than what we proposed it would be. So we've taken that number and cut it by probably 60%, because we anticipate, even with this machine, to get another 8, 9, almost 10 years out of it, the way it sits for the crawler loader. So we're not replacing it every 5. We're probably gonna end up doing it every 15 is how it's looking at with the next new machine. So that's I know it was a large purchase, but it has having a ripple effect, saving us money on other ends. So that's why you see it going from 75,700 to 30,000.
Okay, so that's going back into the equipment reserve, or was that a reserve just for the crawler loader?
Equipment reserve.
Okay.
And if you want me to explain, I don't know what else to really explain. It's quite straightforward. There's not a lot of difference. Even the contracted services for municipal services, and a lot of that is groundwater monitoring that we have to do. We have a grant app sitting in at $56,000 for MPE as we are back on the design of the landfill. So we've had another hookup with MPE. They flew it with a drone and gave us 3D imaging. This is not an aerial. This is 3D imaging, is different. And when we laid it out, we could lay out the footprint of the old sewer lagoon that was clay lined that we have been using since about 1979 as a landfill. And you can see the outlay of it and the 3D, and then from there we can start doing degrees that you have to finish your closing face on when you're closing a landfill, and then we can get to the volume. The other thing we're having to do is to get a life expectancy out of it, and the only way we can feel to do it is to simply take the depth of what that footprint was of the original landfill, how many years have we been putting into it, and where is it at? It's hard to take numbers today and say, okay, let's just say we're putting 10,000 ton a year into the landfill, how long is it gonna last? Well, how big is a ton of waste? It typically has maybe a size, but you know what I'm saying, is it feathers or is it stone? Like, what are you putting in here? So we're gonna do both models and see where we're at to get something accurate for life expectancy. But we've been in there since 1979, so we're 43 years in. And I don't believe we're even at half the capacity the way we're at now, so we'll get that information. It's nice to see that after construction, summer went by and ended and is slowing down now, that now we can ramp back up to our landfill design and get that information out to council. Obviously, there would be no construction next year because it's not in this year's budget, but it'd be something to look at the next year and give us a summer to design and plan it, so kind of excited about that. All right.
So it's not gonna be in here.
It's not in here?
We're not seeing it this summer.
You will see it this summer. You will see the design this summer.
Oh, but not the construction of it.
I don't have a proposal for construction, no.
So we'll have another conversation about who has access to the face then, before this is done.
We can.
Okay.
Yep.
Everybody good with that? Okay.
Okay, then we have utilities department. This is our contracted services. This is our water department. This is our storm water department. This is the sanitary sewer department. Again, I'll blend it into one summary sheet. The 2.27 million projected revenue in 2022 is mostly water sales, bulk water sales, and our contracted service that we provide out of community. That would be the bulk of our revenue. And again, the revenue that you see of a 5% increase is really based on our projection of water sales for 2022.
So it's all blended together in here, Dale. Do you have the numbers of what our contracted services generate? I mean, you don't have to provide it at this moment, but.
Yes, I have the
Oh,
numbers.
you have it? Oh, then let's see it.
Okay. Budgeted amounts for the water department, the sale of goods and services, that's if we provide a service to a resident where there were freezing water or whatever we're doing to assist with them, was $3,000. Just the ACE Regional Water System is $80,000. Andrew Contracted Services is about $9,000. Lavoie's is about $35,000. Two Hills is about $10,000. Innisfree is about $10,000. Mundar's about $8,000. Bulk water sales are $145,000. The
Okay,
sale.
whoa.
Sorry?
I just wanted contracted services.
Okay.
Andrew Lavoie, there's one between, sorry, this.
I got 80, 9, 3,500, 10, 10, and 8,000. Am I correct?
Yep. Yep. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 with the sale of goods and services, which is not a contracted service. So the first 3 or 3,000 I gave you doesn't really count.
9, 35, 10, 10, and 8. I'll rewrite them properly.
So, I just always want to know that we're still on the good side of these contracted services.
Yep. We're on the good side.
Do we ever break it down and say, well, this is how many hours and their employees and benefits cost? And do we ever take a look at all that together and fuel and whatever we're doing?
We have a few years ago. It hasn't been dusted off for a bit since, because the contract is now a few years old with them, but we can. And the more hours we put in, then the more revenue we're making, right? And really our expense is to purchase, maintain, fuel the trucks, and we have 3 operators. So after that, everything we do is doing well for us, even with our new operator gets charged out at a rate, so that benefits us.
So these numbers that we're seeing here are annual numbers, and then if we need to do more work in those communities, it's by the hour.
Everything is by the hour. Every hour, even these, is by the hour. And it's on a set schedule, you're right. And if something pops up, whether we have to go and do an inspection for a crossing, or there's a break, or they're having problems with a blow-off valve, then yes, it's all charged by the hour. And I see it going up more now too, as a system, the transmission line system is now mandating that every year, they want every valve operated on the system. Some of these valves they're big, and it's a lot to turn them, and some of them will do 320, 360 turns to go to close position, and then 2 men spin around and take them up, because they're not wanting us to use an automatic valve turner. It's been damaging some of the valves, so. Anyways, what I'm saying is as revenue, and more of it for the coming year, so.
Okay. Just as long as we're always on the good side of that. I know that, like, we're by the hour, anything over our contracted services. But we do have a contract with all these municipalities, and there's a flat rate just for us to be there, right?
No,
No,
it is by the hour.
everything is by the hour no matter what we do.
Everything is by the hour. But we have scheduled by the hour, but we are going to be here because we have to be here. This will community be 3 days a week for an hour per. This one will be 4 hours every single day. And that's just what is set up, so that's how we budget off of.
Okay.
Because we have to be there a certain amount of time to even satisfy Alberta environment, right?
Everybody got that? We're good?
And it is a little bit down because in the last couple of years, we are not doing like the Murnum and Derwent, that end. There's another contracted service that's picked up those 3 communities. But for us operationally, it was just a lot of travel for us to get all the way down there to do something for 20 minutes and drive all the way back. So this is more useful for us. And remember that these 3 operators are now also, they look after all the systems in town. So we've got a nice spread and coverage of having 2 senior operators and a junior operator. And that's looking after our community, plus making money outside as a contracted service, so.
So those extra requirements that you talked about in regards to like valve closing and stuff, you don't think it changes the scope of the number of staff or anything we need? It's all doable within what we have, right?
It is doable the way we operate, because we have 2 senior staff, a junior staff member, I'll call him, he's a new operator, and we will be going for a summer student. So the junior operator and the summer student then hit the transmission line in the summer and do some weed eating and open and close exercise valves. And obviously that summer student is also charged out at a rate.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
I think everybody's got a good handle on how that works.
Okay, and then the only other thing on this page is the materials, goods, supplies, and utilities, which is a goods purchased account. You'll see has an increase of 53,000. That's the blower on the vac truck needs to be replaced. So you'll see that in the next few pages in the detail, as this is a summary.
I do have one quick question there, Director Lefebvre. Up in the top, user fees, sales, goods and services, the change is 112. You said that's due to more water usage?
Water sales.
Water sales. And what do we think that's coming from? Is that bulk? Is that new businesses in town opening up? What's the?
The town will increase the rate by 2.5%. Plus, we were a little low on our projection for consumption last year because it was a drier year. So we're going to take it up a little bit, so.
Okay. Perfect.
Our cost of water is going up too. So the water commission is charging us more, but that's just where that's the increase in our increase, but on the other end, our buying water is more too. Councilor Rudick.
Dale, is the meter heads in this, or this was in, the meter heads was in capital, or are we caught up on the replacement project, or where are we at that?
We are just starting to be able to enter homes again, as you can appreciate, and the water meter heads, as you know, were a warranty item. So we're not getting a brand new one, we're getting a rebuilt, and we've been putting those in, and they've been doing well. So we're just starting to get back into that, and I would say we're probably at the 65% complete rate right now.
So the rebuilt meter is warranty, the labor to change them is not.
Correct. Which is pretty standard. If you bought an alternator somewhere and you put it in and it didn't work, they would give you an alternator, but not the payment to have the mechanic work on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do we have those extra percentage of the meter heads already in, or are we like replacing as we're receiving them? Do we have them already all here?
We
and
have a
just
small inventory. We don't have the entire inventory because
Still
everybody's.
replacing.
Because they had a big enough game to play catch up before
Yeah.
COVID, and then after that, I know it's getting tougher, so.
I just remember we were waiting, could have done it, but didn't have them.
Yeah, and this is not a revenue loss for us, because some of the meters that are not reading at all, as Paul has gone through with the utilities department, they're just doing an average, so we're averaging those bills and then, until we can get in. Yeah, we finally got enough product a year and a half to almost 2 years ago, where we're actually making appointments and getting cruising along with the water meter head changes. And then COVID came along and we were unable to even step into anybody's home, obviously, so. And for those that aren't aware, we budgeted for water meter head replacements, not the chamber, just the head, to get away from the old meter heads that read through ATCO Electric's power meter remotely, as we were having too many issues and their program had ended, so we went to a radio read. So now each water meter head has a battery in it that is guaranteed for 20 to 25 years. And we spent almost 2 years. We changed every one in town, and now utilities guys will drive in their truck. It doesn't have to be down every street. They just hit your neighborhood and it'll pick up from blocks away. And it just loads up on a laptop and we take it into the upstairs office and plug it in, and there's your water bill. So that's the new system we have. Unfortunately, we just got that finished, and the things were doing about 2 to 3 years old, and they started dropping off awful rapidly as the batteries were malfunctioning, not just in the meter heads we bought, but the ones that North America had purchased, because we're not the only community that went to the system. So then there was a huge demand on warranty heads. So that's where we're at now, but we've fought through it, and we're doing okay with what we're doing, considering all the things that have happened.
You guys have any questions on that? Because I know neither one of you probably knew about that situation.
We talked about it a bit in the last meeting.
Okay. Okay.
All right. And then for the last summary page is planning and development. There's really not a lot to report here. You'll see that the permits and penalties under revenue is up a little bit, as we are obviously anticipating more revenue, as we have interest from builders showing us plans lately that they want to start on in the spring. So that's nice to see. They're checking into it. So there'll be some housing starts probably starting in the spring, some even maybe now. So we've increased that a little bit. And other than that, there's not a lot of differences. You can see the percentages are small all the way along. So it's business as usual downstairs. Okay, this should be replacement project, should be the list on the top, and under project name, it should say CRF sand seal. So you've noticed some sealing going on, say on 49th Street, past the Sunshine Club, up to the Cenotaph. We were doing some test areas in there. This is another product that we did a small test on. It's a more rough. It has sand in with the slurry. It's called a sand seal slurry. And it's supposed to have a longer life than just the slurry we're laying down. We're kind of happy with the performance of it, and it is taking some of our streets that are just on the edge of, I can be remilled, or I'm going to have to be completely rebuilt, and it's buying us some time. So this is putting a Band-Aid on the road to buy us a few more years. We want to take this CFR sand seal and take it down 75th Street. So that's the Innotech Road off of Highway 16 by the former Blue Sky Building, and heading south up to 55th Ave. It's a wide road. That road was constructed with a lot of help from the big government people when the Research Council rolled in. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a road like that. The problem is it's our road now. It's wide. It's got a lot of square meters on it, and it's starting to have issues. We've been crack sealing it every year for 20 years to try and maintain or slow down the fact that it is coming apart. So we don't have it on the near list because we just can't afford to do a road that size with a mill and overlay. So we're gonna propose this CFR sand seal, and we're gonna do 75th Street. Again, that's from Highway 16A right to 55th. And then also I've got a couple options there that are evaluating on the pavement quality index as poor or fair, sorry. And I'm, to see which one's performing the worst next spring, and then we'll hit it. I'm thinking it'll probably be 45th or 48th Street from 45th to 43rd. So that would be from the Goodnight Water Reservoir by the swimming pool and go south alongside the egg grounds. There's that 48th Street to do those two blocks there. There's a lot of traffic on that as well. So that's what I'm leaning towards, but we'll see what happens, because in the spring, things can change over a freeze thaw in the winter. Especially now when we're getting a freeze thaw, and then we're gonna thaw again, then we're gonna freeze, and who knows, maybe we'll thaw it one more time before it all happens.
We're gonna do the seal in-house, the actual application?
No, it's contracted. We prep.
Okay.
We prep and set it up, so it's clean and ready to go, and then they roll in with their equipment and they lay it down.
Anybody have any questions on this?
And we save some money too, because we provide the barricades, we provide the traffic, we babysit it, basically, we help them out to save a few dollars.
And we think this will add 5 to 7 years before we have to totally redo that,
Redo it or lay it down again,
right down again.
if we're not there yet.
We
It's a-
never actually used this sand slurry yet.
We put a small patch in town as a test, and that was put on Maple Street, just basically right across from St. Mary's School on Maple Street.
Yeah.
And we put it on a stretch, it was only about 10 feet by 10 feet wide. It's just a small patch, just to get some vehicles over top of it, because it was busy, and this summer it seems to be okay, you know? It's not like anybody's turning on it, but at least we put it in a spot where there's gonna be a lot of traffic. And they just come out, the guy obviously to show us his wares, laid down a sample spot for us, and then left, and we watched it throughout the summer, so. I'm curious to see what it does come spring, after we run the grader over it a bunch of times and scrape it and things like that, right?
Is a truck still allowed on Maple Street, like a set of B trains hauling
Yep.
oil? Yeah.
It's a truck route.
Okay.
It's a truck route, yep.
Okay, so we'll see where this ends up in the spring, and then we'll hopefully have a product that can move forward and at 1/8 of the cost, not even that.
Yes, and not even, but remember, it is a Band-Aid, this is just buying us time, it's not a rebuild. Okay, next page is 55th Avenue Paving, so that would be on 55th Avenue from 46th to 45th Street, so if the Alliance Church, if you will. So there's those 2 blocks of coal mix. One block we had done years ago when with our first load of concrete crush, it was experimental and we tried it. And the base of the road actually is still holding up really well, just the surface is starting to come apart. And because after all those years where the base is still performing well, I'm thinking it's probably time to put a hot asphalt, excuse me, on that block. It's also a high traffic route, as everybody comes from the northeast subdivision, pops out and then past the Alliance Church and down Dibrev. So we want to try a hot asphalt as opposed to re-cold mixing it again. And that would be done with local talent. I won't include it in a capital works project, and we'll make sure that it goes out to have people that are interested bid on this.
So that avenue, was it ever done was it ever have like a real pavement job put down on it?
No, that's been coal mix since forever. Just been coal mix. Like I said, the first block, so this isn't off of 47th or the landfill road, as some people refer to it as, to the Lions Church. It's the next block in,
Yeah.
because that's the one that we laid a lot of heavy concrete base underneath, and it's been holding up, so that's the one we want to do first.
Everybody good?
This is coming out of our sewer cleaning operators. You know that they have the large vac truck with the reel in the front for sewer flushing and cleaning. A lot of times downstream would be the second vacuum truck, and I'm sure you can appreciate, vacuum trucks are very noisy, and they've always struggled with communication. There's a person at the operator at the front of the wheel. There's one in the front of the truck usually controlling some traffic, and there's one down half a block or a block by a manhole watching to see what's happening with the line. And they do struggle with communication and hearing each other. This is not a necessity, but this would be nice to do. They're using hand signals now, which is fine if there's nothing in between. This radio system is designed to mute out that drone noise and just pick up on your voice. And the fellow that came out and had Brad give them a go, Brad was really impressed with them, because even with both trucks so loud, there's no way I could talk to you or Paul on the radio with the earmuffs. It drowns that sound, the outside sound off, and just picks off your voice. So the guys this is their ask for cleaning sewer lines, which we do often.
Okay, Looks like we're good here, keep going.
This is, this little picture, I apologize for it, but if you look down, the white spot building on your right is the new RJV site, and then of course, up is north. And then to your right, you can just see at the top corner, a little bit of a pond, that's North Parkway drainage, the beginning of. The little circles are manholes on that storm line. Sorry, that's RGB. So when we were, a lot of the reason for putting North Parkway drainage system in, obviously, was to control the water systems and storms on a good portion of the town. Right from the high school to Heritage House, like that whole area heads down. It's a large pickup, large collection line. When it was CMBS being built at the time, when we went to tie into the storm line and we knew there was a problem with that line, it was silted in, the line is huge. I could walk down it. I couldn't walk down it. You could probably crawl through it. Anyways, it's like a 42-inch. So the point is, it was two-thirds full of sand, probably 75% of straight sand, and there was no way to get it out. There was no manual equipment you could put in there. There just was no way to get it out, other than to flush it out, which meant that we had to change what was happening at North Parkway drainage. So when they were building CMBS, they went to put the storm line in, it was HCL construction. And when they opened up the side of the storm on 857, it was two-thirds full of sand, and what are you tying a pipe in to do what? It was horrible. So that means there was probably 24 to 28 inches of sand silt, leaving about this much at the top of the pipe left open to actually flow the stormwater, which was causing us problems with flooding. It would surge and then slowly make its way into the pond. This project was finished in the fall of 2016, or spring of 2016, and we now go and dip those lines, and you'll see the red dot closest to the bottom, let's say to the south. When we dip that, we're running at 5 inches of silt as opposed to 27. The next one up was 7. As we move up, the second last one's at 4 inches, and the last one just before it dumps in North Parkway drainage is 2 inches of silt from 27. So there's no way mechanically we could remove this, but because we're using Mother Nature and the wash the flow, we've gotten rid of a lot of sand. So here's what that $10,000 was for. That sand is, guess where? It's in North Parkway drainage in an area constructed to hold silt. So when it comes out of the pipe, there's a large riprap stone bed that it sits in, so we can go up there with a long arm traco and bounce over the rocks, pick all the silt up, and dump it into trucks and go dry it and dump it. So this is, I mean, if you're into this world, this is quite exciting, because we had a problem that we had no idea what we were supposed to do with, nor did the engineers know what to do. And after you do this construction work, things are flowing and things are working, and we're ready for more development. We can add more to the storm line now, more storm system for development because of this project, one of the benefits.
So for $10,000, we'll get a traco with a big stick in there.
Yeah,
and
we
we'll
got our own
clean
trucks
her out.
and we're gonna clean her out.
It's pretty exciting. Counselor
I'm
Barry.
sorry. I know, that could have been a 30-second explanation, but I had to tell you the story.
But I think it's very exciting myself as well, because I think
Well, we're both watershed
it does
guys, right?
show exactly what we planned on doing when that was approved to be built. It was to collect the silt there, and now we can actually clean it out. But the other beautiful thing is too, it's stormwater retention, and it slowly flows to the river. So I think overall, it's a tremendous project, and it's worked. So I guess now we have to go and clean it out. Well, that was part of the planning to start with.
That's right,
We always hoped we'd have to go and clean it out.
that's right.
Translates to $1,000 a year.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if you can control your excitement, we'll move forward then.
Well, we'll try a different approach. We're having an issue at the riverbank at the cemetery, and it's been washing away a bit every year. And then the last couple of years, it had a big portion of it had fallen down and fallen off. And now we are seriously meters away from existing grave sites. So through the Watershed Resiliency Restoration Program, there is a grant that is 100% funding for projects like this. This would fit in there where they would come rebuild, recurve, create a riverbank that would handle the erosion. What I need the $12,000 for is that would be for the consultant that come to see us, that put us in touch with the Watershed Resiliency Restoration Program, because it's 100% grant, but we need to design first. It was like ICIP when we were doing prosperity. We need the design work done first, then we make application, and what we're hearing is there's a good opportunity or good chance that if we're successful, that would then back up and cover the cost of the design work, because it is 100%. So I think we have a really strong case here with this. But I need to do the engineering first, and there's a chance that I would get the funding back if our grant's approved.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to be totally in support of this.
Yeah.
As chair of the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance, the town did reach out. Brad reached out to us.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we're not a funding agency, you know, and our grants per se that we had that was working on parts of the river wouldn't be able to enter in on this. But I did go out and look at it, and I agree with you totally. That's unstable, that area of the bank. And I think that we really need to push to try and get something stabilized there and worked on it. So I completely support this.
Okay, I think that whatever we need to do, let's keep that cemetery out of the river.
Good idea. Next page is the Public Works Manager is proposing as part of the cemetery master plan. We last year put up the Riverside Cemetery new signage, as you can see in the photo. It looks nice, it looks good. And then we want to take the fence that you see behind and run it at an angle from wide to the Riverside Cemetery new signposts. So when we drive through with the trucks, we've got some room to turn left and to go straight. And it'll provide an opportunity for the trucks. About once a year, we're repairing the gate or someone's repairing a truck, because if you notice when you drive in the cemetery, to make the first left to get down to most of the cemetery is quite tight. And as the Wilbert Way and those types of trucks are coming in, and Forever Monuments, you know, it's just tight to make the bend at times. So we want to, this is not something that would have to be guaranteed done this year or the world stops. It's just that this is part of our cemetery master plan, as we have been slowly moving forward with the plan. And this is the next step, so it's there for your review.
Okay,
And that's new fence, new gate, new everything for the 30,000, so we won't be touching that again for many years.
okay. $30,000.
30,000,
Is the gate being done locally?
that's my understanding, yes.
Mine too, so.
Yep.
New water tower, what do these cost?
In 2005 was the last time this water reservoir, which is called a Gunite water reservoir, was surface coated and painted with a special Sika paint that's designed for Gunite. Gunite is a parging cover over a concrete and spool wire wall system that the reservoir is made out of. Then they trowel this on the outside and it protects the original concrete. So we need to put the Sika paint on or an alternative product to protect the Gunite that's protecting the structure of the water tower. There's over 800,000 gallons of water in there, and we'd like to keep it in there. We will be working with Tourism and Culture. As you know, the last time it was painted to protect itself, and we're having a graffiti issue back in those days. A strong presence, especially at the water reservoir. And so the community groups come forward, and we're approached and started to come forward to paint their little logos and their emblems on the side. So we'll see what we can do if we have to either pressure wash or sandblast through it, paint it all white again and let them start over again. We'll see what the flavor is, or I'll see if it even is an option that we could tape it off somehow and then paint around it, but I would prefer to start with a fresh slate and take it all down. And then we get some new logos up and some new styles, so.
You guys okay with the painting Goodnight? I'm sure there's gonna be a little bit of feedback from some of these clubs.
Yeah, I know, and even the little band around the bottom,
Yeah,
there's a lot of, was it grade 4? Phil, your daughter did that too. Grade 3, all the parents and kids went there and put there, so it means something to them too, but I don't know how I leave it. But we'll see what we can do. It will be a consideration.
this coating doesn't come in clear, right?
No.
Well, it is what it is. It's still a big, piece of a good asset, and
Yeah.
we need to keep this going as long as we can, so. What is the age on this, tower?
The age on this, does everybody remember John Zebrick? John Zabrick, he worked for the town Zebrick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Zebrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he, one of his first jobs out of school was he helped construct this reservoir, he told me,
And he's retired now.
a long time ago.
Yeah. These towers, they last.
Yeah, it's definitely an early fifties build for sure.
One thing, if you aren't able to clear or cover it, just if we can make sure, because we know there will be a little bit of upset, just that we take the most recent photos that we can of it around and have somewhere where that's kept. I understand that's not really a big consideration now, but just something somebody might ask about.
Yeah, and you know, just out of history and memory, I remember that as soon as we painted this white and the first couple clubs started putting their emblems on, the graffiti stopped.
Yeah.
It looked good, it was a nice, before we were always scrubbing the graffiti off and you could never get it all off and it looked bad. As soon as we painted it and a couple groups put up, I remember the graffiti it stopped there, nobody ever touched it again.
And people took ownership of it too.
Yeah.
Some people were very careful driving around. They see anybody hanging around there, they were upset, and
Yeah,
it's pride. People take pride when things are done, so it's good. You go, sorry, Counselor Bullock. Sorry, I missed your,
Well, just thinking about, what's on there, maybe something we can do through communications or something to document it in a video or something that'll be as a keepsake for the people who are all involved in it. It's something we'd be able to have going forward. Maybe that's something that would help that along.
yep. You got that, Jim?
Yeah, small charge for the video and we face for the project.
well, as we move forward with this project, let's bring in and consult with some people, that are in the community, and you know what? The kids that were back in the day that put their handprints and stuff, it was a big day. I mean, there's a whole new class of kids now that can get on that too, so, I mean, it can be a legacy thing moving forward again, so.
We actually did think about having as many of those kids come back with their big handprints and put it above the new kids' prints, so, but.
Good idea.
That'll be exciting for those older kids now.
Yeah, they're 23 and 24 now.
Okay, let's keep moving. We're all getting a little punchy here, and
Okay, next page is security camera upgrade. This is at our water distribution station, or you may know it as the bulk water station, but that's where we pump our water out. The current system that is there now is CCTV, so it's closed caption, everything's saved inside its old system. It is an endless loop, it runs over itself, and it's still recording, but we can't get into it. We've called the manufacturer, and they've come out, and there's something has gone electronically wrong, and it's recording and saving it, but we can't get it out, we can't access it, we can't even get the passcode to get into it, so. So anyways, it's a really old system. The one we're proposing is one like the rest of the town system that takes information forever and ever, saves it on the cloud. So we'll have that information. The nice thing about it is it's easy to access. So we have two alarm systems. We have this one, and then we have one at the bulk water station pedestals. So if they're low temperature, an alarm will go off, which isn't what the CCTV is for. But if somebody shakes or moves the coin boxes, like if you're beating them to death because something got stuck, or you're trying to rip them out to steal them, which has happened in the past, an intrusion alarm comes through, and that automatically gets called to the person on standby, and they can get hold of one of the operators who can look on their cell phone, their iPad, their whatever, and it's instant. They can go have a look just like we do with our current system and see if there's somebody still there, is something happening. Because now when we get the intrusion alarm call out there, we would drive out and have a look, and if there's nothing, there's nothing, but if there's something, then they would call the RCMP and wait. So, how long does all this take? By the time we would ever get there, there'd be the marks of a tire track and a chain, and the coin box was gone. And there's 3 of them, and the last time it went out was 15 years ago, and that was, $28,000 to replace it, so. Anyways, it helps us too. It helps us with issues where sometimes people are calling and very angry that they have put X amount of dollars in the coin box and it's not working, and they're beating on it and they're mad, and when you go back and have a look, maybe they only put in 2. But you have that information handy, it helps keep the operations, gets rid of the argument sometimes, right?
And I think too that we can go back on the film and take a look if people are at the potable water station when they have no reason to be there.
Yeah.
I know there's been some arguments out there, and people that go there to buy potable water do not want people with chemical hoses and other things attached to it. People, oh, it doesn't matter, this lane is open, I'm gonna go in there. Well, if you're taking it home for your home use, people get upset about it, so we'll be able to identify the users that are doing that after a complaint and take the appropriate action, so.
Okay.
So everybody's good with that?
Okay, and this is just a gear set valve replacement on pump 2 at the sewer lift station. It's, the outer gearing has broke the inside. It's not affecting its operation right now, but if we had to lock out the pump to do service on it, we can't. So we just have to change this valve. It's just as simple as that. That's,
We're doing it ourselves?
no. No.
Okay.
No, there's where it comes out of the reservoir, and there has to be some pump spreading. There's some equipment that's needed to pull us apart those few mills, so you can get the spool out and then drop the new one in. We're not gonna do it under in-house. We will assist and watch and learn, but we're gonna hire it out. Usually QQR Mechanical, we have contractors that come do that type of work, so,
They do work for the water commission too in our pumps.
yeah. Actually, you know, I was going through the files, and I found the blueprints for the 1977, 78, and 79 built lift station that we're talking about, our current one. And QQR Mechanical was one of the sub-trades then for it.
Oh, really?
I imagine it would be Dad who started it all.
Probably, yeah. He's long retired, probably lives in the Bahamas, the money he made.
Just off that one. Okay, if there's no question, just simply a valve, but it's a replacement, it's a project, so it's in. The next one is, we're under municipal services, garbage collection, garbage bins, $10,000. This is for mostly the northeast subdivision, but in other areas that don't have rear lanes. And we were approached by a few people, not a lot, but a few, about the possibility of getting a compost bin. So there's 276 residents in town that don't have rear lanes wherever they may be throughout the town, mostly the northeast. And instead of just purchasing 276 and go drop them up, we did a survey with the helps of our communications manager. We delivered right to the door twice. One of them being on the door, one of them actually being the information taped to the garbage bins. When they rolled it back, they would have to there's the only way I can get it in their hand. And it was really simple. You could call in, you could email us in, or you could take your phone and just scan the QR code, and it'd come up with 2 questions. Do you want a compost bin? Yes. And number 2, your address. And that was it. Hit send. I think we received a total of about 75 responses. However, they all came, and about 62 said yes, they'd like compost bins out of 276. So I'm gonna order 100, because I'm sure once the 60-some get out there, people are gonna phone, hey, I want one, but they are $100 a piece, and I'm not gonna spend $28,000 and have $10,000 sit in inventory not being used. So we're gonna take it from the 60-some that would like them, we're gonna order 100, and see what happens next year. Maybe the year after more people want them, and we'll order again.
And what will be going in these? What will be accepted?
This is under the sink compost, and your grass clippings, leaves, and no branches. Branches still go garbage. And that information will be on the bins when they are delivered. And also, you notice a little kitchen catcher beside it. Once we're ordering at that 100 or more mark, then these things get included. They're inside the bin to start people off under the sink composting, and I think it added $1.50 to an $88 cart, so nothing really.
And it would be a different day for collection?
Yeah, the collection will be obviously from spring till late fall, and we don't pick it up in the winter.
So those little bins underneath the sink will get kind of full.
Yep. That's what we're doing off the first. We gotta try it. I can't have this, I can't have a truck drive around to pick up 3 bins in the winter and do the route looking for them. So this is gonna take us right to, well, this is gonna add another round of delivery, there's no question. And it's slow, because you're going with the bin. With a garbage truck in the back alley, you pick up a bin, you've got 5, 6 houses using that bin, and you're gone. When you use these, it's every single house that truck stops and starts. So it's time consuming to pick up. So we're gonna try spring till fall and see how it goes.
So you got basically a quarter of the people responded that have no access to an alley.
Yep, that is correct.
I know in our neighborhood, I didn't respond when I heard about you talking about it. I went home and I was told, yeah, I seen that. Okay, so I didn't respond.
Well, you're not getting a bin.
But I'm gonna use my blue one when you're.
So, again, like, for me talking to my neighbors. So on Tuesday, we get the blue bin picked up. On Friday, we get the black bin picked up. So this will be a different day.
It's gonna have to be a different day. I don't even know that, your worship. I'll leave that with Tony. All I know is that he'll set it up as to what day works best for him and when they're gonna get it picked up and.
But it won't be, they can't be the same day.
No, well, I'm assuming what he'll do is we have the compost truck go do the rest of the town compost, so that truck gets compost in it for one period of time, then it gets cleaned out, then it does recycling, then it gets cleaned out, and if it has to, it'll go in garbage. But you have to clean obviously between these, so I'm sure on the days that he's doing compost, that will be the day, obviously, we'll include this.
Okay, can't get a bigger bin. All my grass clippings won't fit in there. But whatever. Okay,
It's an 80 gallon, it'll be the same size as your recycling.
yeah, well, you know what, this gotta move forward, I mean, to be responsible and,
Cause what's
stewards.
happening now, and we know it is, most of it is ending up in the garbage cans, right?
I drive over to the nearest alley and put mine in
Yeah.
the big green bin.
Yep.
So what do you guys think about this? You think it's worthwhile going ahead, at this price to get this up and running?
I think it's a good start. There's no reason why you wouldn't if you already put the feelers out and people have responded yes. You should give it a shot anyway and go from there.
And I don't know if I mentioned, I'm sorry, your worship, for cutting in, but we did not just do paper handouts to doors. Like I said, Jameson helped
Yeah.
with, all the social media ends that we have were utilized too.
Okay, Counselor Bullock first and then Counselor Barrett.
Actually, when I was out campaigning, some people mentioned it to me that they got approached about it and they actually liked the idea. So, and I think if we're gonna move forward and be, green going forward and taking care of our waste properly, this is the right way to go.
Okay, Counselor Barrett?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to take a slightly different approach on this too, though. Something that Edmonton did when I was still in Edmonton, and that's when it comes to grass clippings. If we can encourage people to mulch, to leave it right on their grass, it's actually good for their grass, and it doesn't have to go to landfill, it doesn't have to go to compost. And now that we're not in the business of shipping compost up north to try and generate electricity, we should maybe slowly start to try and encourage people as they change their lawnmowers and et cetera. I know I've gone to mulching. I never take grass off my lawns, and they're even better. So, I mean, there is an alternative there. If we can encourage people to mulch the grass, it's good for their lawns, and we don't have to haul it away. But otherwise, for kitchen waste and et cetera, I think this is a good idea.
Counselor Riddick?
I was just gonna draw attention to the last sentence of the justification of the project, that just as another reason to separate waste, that the leachate is damaging. In this case, it's not damaging or destroying the metal bins, which it does, but it also adds additional leachate to the landfill. And until we have another way to divert waste, keeping it out of the landfill is beneficial too. So there is that end result, whether we encourage people to mulch or not mulch, that is a diametrical opposition I might have in my own house for lawn maintenance, but there is definitely an argument to be made to keep it out of the landfill too.
Okay, well, let's kick it off and see where we go, hey?
Sounds good.
Director Casey, you're getting in on this?
We answered yes.
Oh, well,
But,
you answer.
but in agreement with with Councillor Barry, we also don't bag our grass. We mulch our grass. The only time the bag goes on my lawnmower is in the fall when I go to pick up the leaves.
Well,
Once or twice.
Two responsible grass users.
okay, let's move forward before we get burnt anymore.
Okay, we should be on the commercial shredder rental again. Like, as you know, you've seen the videos, right? We showed them to you of the mattresses going through the shredder. Has our new council seen that? Nope. Okay.
Sounds fascinating.
It's pretty cool. If you don't mind, I'll just send it to you on text message or whatever. So we have an issue with mattresses at the landfill because you can't compact them down to cover them. They're very difficult. They just continue to pop up. We get quite a few of them. So we brought in a shredder last year with a $10,000 budget, which got us the shredder for about a day and a half. So we ground through a lot of furniture, a lot of mattresses. We're not done. Tony has taken the furnitures now, the couches, all that furniture, that's all fabric wrapped, and taken it up to the working surface and had the new compactor, the new Tana go over top of it, and it will absolutely destroy that stuff. It still can't beat a mattress. They just keep coming back, so. So we've got rid of a lot of the problem because now we can pulverize the furniture. So the mattresses, the other option is to load them into a highway truck, the used mattresses, and then truck them to Calgary and pay for that, and then pay a tipping fee to unload them, and they will recycle them there. So what we're doing now is a partial recycle, so through this shredding process, now we can shred just mattresses, and when it grinds them up and shreds them, it does pull the metal out with a magnet system, so we can collect that off to the side, so we'll recycle the metal, that's the springs that are coming out of the mattresses, and the remainder gets shredded up, and then we'll put it on the working face and use it for cover. So the municipal services manager is asking for $20,000 opposed to last year's 10, and at 20,000, we should be able to catch up and get back on at a flat zero with all the mattresses we have, and he feels we likely could do this every second year. $10,000, these guys hardly came. We begged and begged and begged, and they finally showed up because it's such a small job for them. So if we go 20,000, it might help them get them here for the 3 days that we could use them for. And then we're hoping then every second year we can skip, right?
What's the tipping fee per mattress?
I believe it's $4.
And if we put it up to $10 per mattress, we'll have a bunch in the alleys.
The one downside of the collection system we have is if people don't like to pay, then they just get dropped off by a bin and we'll end up picking it up anyway, so.
I know, it's too bad there wasn't a fingerprint or something. We could
For
just-
DNA or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of DNA in those mattresses. How much, like, how much does it pile up in there? Like, for the 3-day rental, do you get the full stack that you would have gone? Or is there still some left over?
The 10,000 a day and a half rental, because it was experimenting with furniture and mattresses, we didn't get much done as we wanted to. Because we're playing with try this, see how it worked. Because typically these machines are grinding up swamp mats and wood is what they're typically doing. So the manager is telling me that the $20,000 on a 3-day will probably get us caught up on all the mattresses. Now that all we focus on is mattresses, no more furniture and stuff. So, so the 20 grand should do us for skip next year and then do it again the following year in 2024.
Okay.
Okay, well, you guys want to sleep on it, or you're good? Keep rolling.
Second last page. This is just a handy little tool. It pulls behind a ATV, a gator, a half-ton. It rolls down our landfill roads and it picks up nails and screws and things. We at times get a bad luck where someone comes through and it falls out, whatever happens. And not only are our trucks sitting at the tire shops getting repairs, so are other haulers, whether it be GNR or Quest or whoever may be coming in, will get a bad run of flats too. And this unit is just, it's magnetic. You run it up and down the road, it picks it up, you whip over to the metal pile, flip the lever down, it drops all the stuff in the metal pile, and you take off and go. So that could be sitting there and be part of the summer student's job, that every now and again they go run up. Or if we get a call that we're getting problems, you know, if both garbage trucks are in the tire shop in the same day, obviously we got a problem someplace, so we can run around and pick it up. So that came as a request from one of our local trucking companies. And when we checked into it, we found that the price wasn't that bad. And we called some municipalities that have them, and they said, yeah, they work pretty good. There's a noticeable improvement.
So all the roofing companies that pull in will just follow them around.
You should. I'll put this behind their truck.
We probably have at least $2,000 a year in tire repair, so whatever. Okay.
All right, and the last page, this was a request of council that we would bring to them updated rates for our commercial resident and non-resident commercial haulers rates through different communities. We would give them revenue on the commercial haulers, provide tonnage that's been scaled. This is tonnage just of the commercial haulers. And give them what does it cost should we increase the rate by $1 per ton. Obviously, that equals about $5,500 based on this year's totals. Or what it would increase obviously would be by percentage, which is $1,900 of expected revenue based on 2021. We were at $20, then 2 years ago we went to 30, and then last year we went to $35 per ton has been the increase.
Okay, so anybody want to start this? We look where we're, or with our local Riley, they're at 25 for, well, I don't know, they have residential, like,
Yeah, their non-resident is 60, and then their resident is 25. And really, we're just focusing, I think, well, we're focused on both. But the commercial non-resident is such a small use, like they had 18 ton last year. It's almost nothing.
yeah. So you guys, okay where it's at, or do you want to increase it? Do you want to decrease it? Anybody want to start? I'll start, I think we're fine. We increased it last year, and I know we have, some local businesses that rely here, and we've taken a lot of steps to add to the longevity of the facility, and, I think at $90 per ton for non-resident is fair. And they're not providing jobs and stuff in our communities, so. Looks like we're gonna stay where we're at.
Okay. Good, then we will stay. That is the conclusion of my operational presentation. I'm sorry about the mattress comment, that wasn't very good.
Yeah, it's a little off. So now that we have the reserve summary here, can you just break it down for us? In, out, at the end of 2022, what are we gonna be taking out of the reserves? More than what we're putting in, I would imagine.
Yeah, we're putting in, just let me get my. We will be putting in $497,500 into reserves, and we will be taking out $689,885. So it's about $200,000 net change.
Okay, so just so the new councilors know, last year we were in the same boat that we were using up reserves.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable to move forward this way. You can't just keep living on reserves. I mean, the reserves were put in there, and previous councils were prudent enough to build up some of these reserves. And I'm not saying we got to make it all back up in a year, but you know, during our term, well, we can't just live on reserves. So everybody needs to understand that.
Well, $446,000 of the amount that's coming out of reserve in 2022 is money we put in reserve this year to use next year.
Yep, like for projects that weren't done and moving forward, right? But even last year, we couldn't have had the result of dropping the taxes by 2% without drawing from reserves.
Correct.
So, right now, the way this budget is set up, that we're moving forward with a 2.5% COLA for the employees of the town, a 0% tax increase, plus everything that's been presented in the capital and now the operating budget. So does anybody want to talk about anything that was brought up today? There's a one full-time position and a one half-time position, or half a day position, whatever. And plus any other stuff in here that maybe you didn't agree with or want to take another look at. You can start, Councilor Worley.
Sure. overall, I'm comfortable with everything that's in the position. I think that even some of the staffing stuff we've looked at has been careful, and that we know there's some upcoming changes, so I think it allows us some flexibility. I'm actually wanted to say thank you to the staff for the budget was put forward. We did say we wanted to prioritize being able to have a COLA and support our workers, and that was something that they had gone without for a while, and I think that the departments appear to have really heard what we said about not wanting to impact the taxes. We were prepared to actually have some increases, and at this point, we aren't sitting there and still able to do what we wanted without any major cuts to services. For nobody's told us they're cutting programs or anything, so at this point, I am comfortable with how it sits.
Thank you, Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would also like to say my appreciation to administration. I think this is probably one of the best processes that we've gone through in the 8 years that I've been here. I really definitely appreciate the way that you've pared down the budget to bring to us. I'm very happy with everything that we've got in here right now, including the positions that were stated there. I guess the only question I have is, do we stay at a zero, or do we actually take a % and put it into reserves? I mean, we're saying that last year we kind of took a fair amount from reserve, and we know that we have to keep those reserves funded. So I guess that's my only question is, do we kick the can down one more year? Or do we actually, are there some reserves that we should be paying attention to right now?
And I guess the biggest draw on reserves last year was the equipment reserve for sure. And we just all knew that how much we needed that piece of equipment to carry on our operations the way we do it. We looked at the 2% tax decrease last year to try to help out as many people, businesses and res in town, for the simple fact because of COVID, and we felt that some people in our community would probably be a bit more of a challenge, you know. So we have lived off some of the reserves, and this year we're looking at another 200,000. We're still in a very comfortable position, I feel, moving forward where we're at with our reserves. And I don't think the COVID situation's over right now, and anything that we can do to help out our local businesses, the small businesses, which we're always trying to do. And myself personally, I'm not ready to look at a tax increase right now, and I feel comfortable where we're at with we're drawing 200,000 out of reserves. Like I said, it's not sustainable for sure, and it's not the right way that we should operate year after year after year. But I think for this year, and until we see where the economy is going and inflation rates are high, and we don't know what's going to kick us in, going to come up right now, because there's always going to, who knows, we could be into snow removal and to the point where it'll cost us a lot of money. So
I just wanted to have the conversation. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. We are going to add another $15,000 into that on that other piece of equipment. But anybody else have any thoughts about where we're at with this budget? Go ahead.
I echo the sentiments of previous speakers from council. I think the administration has done a wonderful job at creating a budget that's presented to us to meet what we asked. That we thought it was going to be a very difficult budget, coming in with the costs and everything like that. And in the end, I'm very pleased with what's laid out in front of us. The economy right now with inflation is, and you can see by going to the grocery store or any fuel and all that. So another increase on our part to the residents would have created more hardship. And I think last year's 2% decrease and this year's state level would be a good job on our part.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bullock.
I could support the budget going forward. The thing about what I want to talk about is the administrative assistant to communications and to economic development. I would, like, with that coming on board, let's say, and stuff like that, and I would suspect to see quite a bit more advancement, even though there's been advancement already. But I would suspect to see a push going forward from that, even in more progressive going ahead, so I hope that's how everyone else would feel.
Well, it's definitely, the plan is that, once we get our new economic development committee up and running, and, the departments of the town, together, and, you know, between, the chamber and the tourism, and, the few different departments, and, whatever other resources that we need to bring on board on there, and start working together on, pushing our agenda forward. I'm sure that our new communication manager and marketing manager could use a little help, and we're gonna have a lot of expectations out of both departments here, and I think I've let both departments know what is gonna be expected of them here once we get up and rolling, so. I did wanna bring up one more thing, though. It's to do with Dale's department, and, Dale, overall, where are we at with a schedule, a replacement schedule, or what's the word we're looking for, Paul? A study that says what needs to be next, or what? Yeah. We do have right now in place? Okay. And what about sidewalks? Do we have any year-to-year plans on what?
It's on a priority basis. I can't say this gets done this year, this is this year, this is this year. It depends on the funding that we receive, but they're rated on a priority of 1 to 4. And as every year with the money that we get, we tackle the number ones. And if we can, we go to number 2s. And that's what we've been doing. So yes, there's a priority list. Every complaint that we've received is documented, is on the list. Somewhere on the list, and again, it depends on funding and the type of complaint that it is. Just because it's cracked doesn't mean it gets replaced. If it's moving, if it's a tripping hazard, if it's separating, then it gets put on the priority list to be replaced when we have the funds to replace it.
Okay, Councillor Lemko.
And Dale, just a quick question. How often is the priority list checked? So you have it for like a plan for a 1, 2, and 3. Does a 3 become a 1 over the course of a winter? Does it change?
Yes, it certainly can, because Brad Mills, the manager for Public Works, would look after the sidewalks, and they are, his priority is checked at least 3 to 4 times every summer, from right to spring till fall. The wintertime, it's obviously tough to do, so it's a spring thing. In the spring especially, because that's when he's evaluating what was maybe a 3 is now moved to a 1, and maybe that number 2 is still hanging and not moving, it's just gonna stay at 2, right?
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for the budget, my first time out, and getting a lot of background and some info really helps me on some of these decisions that have, been coming up over time before I've been here, so I do appreciate that, and well done, good job, everybody.
Hey, is there anything more that we should be doing? Nothing? Well, everybody's pretty happy. Well, I too would like to say thank you too. We knew going in we weren't gonna have a lot of money to spend on infrastructure projects and stuff. It's pretty skinny, but I'm pretty sure that we've made the right decisions, and I know the employees needed the COLA, and I know that the taxpayers didn't need an increase, so I appreciate everybody's work that was put into this, and hopefully we're right on target here. And there is a little bit of room. We've left a little bit of a surplus there, that if there's anything jumps up, that we can make it work, so. Okay, well, it looks like this will be the end of the budget meetings then, if everybody's happy.
I'd just like to go quickly over the changes we made in the capital budget.
Okay,
So if you go to the capital budget, well, you really don't even have to go there if you don't want to, but basically, based on the discussions that we had when we did the first run of the capital budget, we removed a number of things that had decided to be removed, such as a pickup truck for facilities, a skid steer for parks, some walking trails. We'll put the extrication equipment back up to $30,000, and we removed the radio communications equipment. From a public works perspective, or capital works perspective, we left the 2022 capital works project in there. For 2023, what was in there was some valve and overlay overlay and valve replacement. We moved that to 2024, and 2023 now has the sanitary line in it. It's in the budget, the revised budget, for $2.5 million, funded from grants and about $460,000 from reserves. Dale gave me a new cost yesterday that's not reflected in the capital budget. It's now $2,850,000, which now will be funded about $496,000 from reserve from operations or reserve, or however we fund it. And more than likely the infrastructure reserve will fund it. And the remaining amount is funded potentially to be funded out of grants. So those are the changes that we made.
So moving forward on that project, the provincial side, we were told in our meeting with transportation to go ahead and get started on, especially the environmental side of it and stuff, that there's no penalty if you spend money before you get the, but I don't think that is correct on the federal side, right?
That's what we had faced when we went ICIP with Prosperity, yes.
So I know that Councilor Rudick has reached out to some of her friends at the FCM about when that program may reopen. So once we find out, we'll move on that as fast as we can.
The Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Program, the deadline was November 30th, which we have the application finished. We just waiting after today's meeting that Paul and Cliff will just have a review of it after you get some time. And now they've extended that for 3 months. So it'll go till end of February is now the deadline. So.
And we were told to get it in as quickly as possible and send it right to, directly to her.
And we still will, yes. So it's ready to go. It'll probably leave tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, and I think that it's important for us to get that out, because we may have to go ahead and just start on the environmental side. I hope that something good comes out, that we're hearing different federally, but like when we've called the departments, because I did some department calls afterwards, even people working within the departments, like it's not a closed for now, open within so long. They're like, we don't know. Like, so there's a chance that won't even come up as a thing again. So I would just keep that part, that we might be looking for different avenues, because I don't know that one's how it's gonna go.
Okay. Carry on, Paul.
That was it, Your Worship. Just those were the changes we made. Really only the only significant change is the inclusion of the sanitary line in 2023 and delaying the mill and overlay and valve replacement till 2024.
Okay. Well, again, thank everybody, and let's try to stick within our budget. I guess we'll leave that up to Megan. If there's any surprises, Megan, you let us know as quickly as you can. You are a director.
Well, those
Oh, those ones, oh, not you, okay.
It's not too often that there's like a big server upgrade that jumps out at us.
Okay, so if there's nothing more, I'll adjourn this budget meeting at